being we're here at NCAN, I'm going to start with Mr. Brian. So, so Mr. Brian is going to share his journey, but he hails us from this great state of North Carolina, and so I would like to know why here, why now, and what led you to this point in your journey.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to throw that back to the audience. So the patients here at NCAN for the first time, raise your hand. Okay, a whole bunch of you. And of those patients, how many folks here had multiple aha moments just today from the information gleaned? And did anybody here get answers that should have been given to them when they were first diagnosed but didn't receive that information? That's why I'm here. Because when I was diagnosed, I just didn't feel like I was getting the information that I needed. And when I was introduced to NCAN, the world just completely opened up. And I met three lovely people who brought me here, saved my life. What else can you say?
Yes. Awesome, thank you. So, like I said, everybody's had a unique journey, has different symptoms. So I'm gonna actually just go in line, if that's okay, and go to Mr. Stephen next. So Mr. Stephen, has lived with this disease, but he's kind of not one of those typical patients that has clear-on carcinoid syndrome, but definitely feels the aspects of the disease. So if you could tell us, I guess from journey to now where you're at as far as treatment options, where is your optimism in the future with your neuroendocrine?
Okay, well, first of all, I was a patient at Ochsner, and my primary doctor or oncologist relocated. So I wound up with Dr. Maluccio, and I guess it might have been maybe 6 months or so when she notified us that she was leaving Ochsner to go to East Joe. And I said, well, you're not leaving me. So when she left, I transferred over to East Jefferson, and I mean, that's a testament to her impact on me. Because the doctors that I was left with, that I met with prior to going, we just didn't vibe. The information wasn't like I was used to getting it. The choices that were given to me weren't to my liking at all, and it wasn't sort of massage you into it. It was, here's just what we're doing and this is how it's going to go. So I am now in my second round of PRRT. Took it Tuesday of this week. Symptom-wise, like Sierra said, I was walking around with 1,300 serotonin, and I didn't have the symptoms that go along with it. But when I did the blood work, it was there. So after the first PRRT and my recent blood work, I'm at a 357 from, more than half. So very excited. That things like that keep me optimistic. But as far as treatment goes, I have 2 more rounds to go. I am very optimistic of where we're going because of the successes that we've had. And then, like Sierra talked about the mental aspect of it. For me, I can't let this one segment of my life derail everything that I've been blessed with up until this point. So because of that, I'm stronger every day. So that's, if that answers your question.
It does. Mm-hmm. Very good.
So, like he was saying, that it wasn't the right fit, okay? here's another thing, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. Not every specialist is going to fit, okay? Not every doctor will fit. What may be working for one may not work for another. So that's why I say, you know, when you're on Facebook and they're saying, you know, you have to go to this one, you have to go to that one, find what makes you feel comfortable, that you feel right about the treatment. It is your body, your choice. I've been to numerous specialists along the way, and one of the top specialists in the world almost killed me because he wanted to give me a treatment that was not good for me. And thank God I had enough sense and said, that doesn't sound right, I can't do that. But he works for millions, thousands of other patients. So just because they're a specialist doesn't mean they're gonna be 100% your fit. Make sure you fit together. Make sure you have the same goal, okay? So that's a really, really important point that he brought up, okay?
Huge. I agree, yes. Awesome, thank you. That was great. Okay, Mr. Taylor. So a lot of, you know, like she said, get your mammograms, do your colonoscopies. People living in this disease can have other comorbidities, and I think that kind of hinders some people from doing different treatments in this disease, and I know that's true for you. So if you could share, based on everything you've dealt with, treatments you could take, treatments you couldn't take, new emerging things, how you balance that with your neuroendocrine.
Well, I was diagnosed in 2015. Dr. Waltering was my diagnosing physician. And much to Dr. Boudreau's chagrin, it was recommended that I go have surgery. What he didn't know was that he was going to do another surgery, and another surgery, and another surgery. And I became his problem patient. And I was scared, and he told me, and he reiterated what Dr. Waltering told me, this is a disease you will die with, not from. You will die jumping out of an airplane before this kills you. Well, for 8 years, I was convinced he was right. This last year, 3 active tumors. And it scared me because the last surgery that I had, Dr. Boudreau had to come back at 2 o'clock in the morning and put me back together again. I didn't want to go through that again. Dr. Maluccio now says to me, let's stop for a minute. We have something new. And there's a term that you heard a couple of times today called histotripsy. How many people have heard of that? Raise your hand. How many people are considering it or wanting to have it? Do it. They'll tell you not to listen to other patients. I'm telling you, do it. Here's why. Dr. Maluccio told me this procedure is non-invasive. The hottest tumor that you've got is in a place that doesn't really lend itself well to these other treatments like embolization and PRRT. But this histotripsy, you can go in, have it done, and maybe it will keep you overnight, but you can go home the next day. Yeah, right, tell that to Dr. Boudreau. The end result is after much effort, and these people do heroic things, you know that, they finally got the machine here. I was patient number 1 in Louisiana to have histotripsy, and it was successful. It was very successful. Now, I went in, they did the little ultrasound scan. My wife and I watched on YouTube how the procedure is done. It's kind of interesting to watch if you get a chance to do it. But they knocked me out, and that must be some good tequila. Because shortly thereafter, Dr. Maluccio came back in. She said we had a whole conversation about what happened. I don't remember a thing. Not a thing. 2 hours later, I was asking, I'm ready to go home. The next day, I had no pain. There's no scar. There was no bleeding. There's nothing. You wouldn't have any idea that anything happened to me. But I can tell you 3 days later, I knew something happened. My serotonin level is half. My diarrhea from 6 to 7 times a day, 2 to 3. And tomorrow I'm due for my 28-day shot. And normally, I'm taking the emergencies. Not this time. Histotripsy is the future of treatment in a lot of cases. If you're considering it, if you're a candidate, sign up. Ask them to be your advocate and get you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome, thank you. And Mr. Taylor, could you just share with the group when you had that procedure done?
That was last Thursday, not this Thursday.
Previous
9 days.
Thursday.
9 days.
9 days. Awesome.
9 days.
Okay. Miss Louise. This is a very special lady who has lived with this disease for years and has gone through other trials as well, and can be a testament to each person in this room that she's gone through different treatments with this disease and suffered from carcinoid. So for people who are going into possibly chemotherapy, the oral form, can you just share is your feelings and your journey with that?
Sure. Okay, I was diagnosed in 2012, and at that time I had a colon resection, and we kind of just on a watch and wait type of plan with a general oncologist who was watching and waiting. And so all of a sudden, after 6 years, some numbers changed and things took off, and I ended up having a scan and then a liver biopsy, and ended up in New Orleans with Dr. Woltering. And I think that saved my life, because he was so positive and so encouraging that he was going to be able to help me and get me, like you say, to live my life and die of something else. So that being said, I've been through lots of treatments. I've had the big debulking surgery with Dr. Boudreau and Dr. Rahm in 2019. I've been on the shots for my 72nd one is coming up, so for 6 years. I've had PRRT, I've had some liver-directed therapy TACE procedures, and with all that being said, radiation to my lumbar spine because I have some bone metastasis. Anyway, all that being said, when I first started with this cancer, the thing was chemotherapy is not really that successful. It's not what you're going to want for your best treatments for neuroendocrine cancer. And so I had was absolutely floored when Sierra called and said, we think your PRRT, where it was marginally successful, I mean, we see some improvement, that we're going to put you on CAP-10. And I was just like, okay, this is the end. They have nothing left. I'm on the chemotherapy thing, and I have just finished my 12th round. So I have been on it for 12 months. And it's keeping me stable. My scans are stable, and I feel like I've learned to tolerate it and manage the timing and what I can eat and when to take the nausea medicine and all the side effects that go with that. I am symptomatic, and so I do need to be on some kind of treatment, and I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. So anyway, the chemotherapy prescription was not the end of all, and now I'm hoping for the histotripsy. I did not qualify for the second alpha PRRT because I also have breast cancer that I was diagnosed with almost 2 years ago. So all these complications play into it. Like they say, you're not exempt from all the other stuff. I have learned to manage my symptoms very well with the little rescue shots. I get my monthly shot, and through Sierra's help, I want to keep living my life. I want to swim, I want to hike, I want to do the things I want to do. And in order to do that, I have actually sometimes used my rescue shot so that proactively, I get it because I think I might need it today or whatever. So you have to just kind of figure out what works for you, and everybody is different, and what would work for you or me may not be the same thing. But I do think a lot of what y'all are talking about, the emotional part, the getting up, the positive attitude. So try to not let the cancer control what you do. And a lot of times I think, what would I do today if I didn't have cancer? Because it can start kind of consuming your life sometimes, and just so I've been trying to keep myself busy with lots of things. So exercise is important. I'm thinking I need to work on the nutrition part. I live by myself, and you know, a bag of popcorn for supper. Sometimes it's really easy. So I think that's my next goal, is to work on the nutrition part, and hopefully be a candidate for histotripsy soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Miss Louise. I think it's always to remember we're all humans, you know, and we all, you know, go through different things together. So thank you. That was really good. And so, Miss Martin. So, like I said, everybody's a little bit different and unique, and I want to speak to somebody who has not had the same journey. I didn't flush. I didn't have diarrhea. You know, I had other symptoms. So, what other symptoms drove you to seek treatment, and where are you at in your journey after getting your carcinoid diagnosis?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed in 2015. The tumor was removed in 2015, and I had nobody had ever said to me, you have neuroendocrine cancer, you need to seek help, you need to be under surveillance. Nothing was said to me. And I went in for a geriatric, I'm a woman of a certain age, a geriatric gynecological visit. And it was somewhere in my file that I had neuroendocrine cancer. And Dr. Knapp looked at me and she says, well, who's taking care of you for your neuroendocrine cancer? And I looked at her like she had two heads. And I said, what are you talking about? And she says, oh my God. And this was in 2016 at that point. And she said, so you're not under surveillance? And I'm thinking, police surveillance? Surveillance for what? Like, I didn't do anything. What are you talking about? And that visit turned into 2.5 hours because she did not stop until she got me in to see Dr. Waltering. And she was actually pushing him to see me that day because I hadn't seen anybody at all. And I then became a patient of Dr. Waltering, but then I started becoming a Google doctor, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? I had not seen anybody for this, and this is pretty serious, and what do I do? And I had a million questions, as you can imagine. And of course, you know, the place that everybody goes is MD Anderson. And of course, my husband and my family was freaking out, and they're like, oh, you've got to go to MD Anderson. And I did. I spent a week there having all the tests run, everything that Dr. Waltering had already done. And I ran into a doctor, Dr. Fernandez, who said to me, you go back to New Orleans and you go back to Dr. Waltering, because that is the guru. That is where you need to be, and you're blessed to be in New Orleans and have access to him. We're going to fast forward to this past year. Then he retired, and I was introduced to Mary Hobbs Maluccio, who is a godsend. My case is a little bit different. As you know, Nets is different, so I'm different. We couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with me. I was having flushings, but I didn't know what it was until she told me. I felt like my ears were gonna fall off and all of the other things. And my digestive system, you know, I was constantly constipated and all of those things. And she did a procedure last June 28th, so I'm coming up on a year. And it was the most invasive thing that I'd ever had done. But I sit before you today with regular bowel movements, still having just a few flushings, but as of my last visit, no evidence of disease. But the thing that I like about Dr. Maluccio is that you don't just tell her that something's happening and she just bypasses it. She does not stop until she gets to the bottom of it. And for that, I am grateful. I am sitting here because Mary Maluccio is tenacious in her work, in her research, and in her belief. And I've gone to other doctors because I'm like, okay, this is not working for me. This is not working for me. Mary Maluccio made it work. She found out what it was. And I had a U&Y done last June. I'm 35 pounds lighter. A third of my stomach is gone and a third of my small intestines is gone. But I tell you, I feel great. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. That was very good. So, I mean, you gotta end it with a bang here. So, I talked a little bit about pheochromocytoma and paragangliomas, and those are unique and known and very rare in their own mindset, own thing. And this gentleman has such a story. I mean, we could write a couple books. So, I don't think I really need to give him any prompt. I think I'd like him to just share his journey from a young boy to now, where you are at in your treatment, and take it away, Tim Watts.
So I was 12 years old in 1987 when I was diagnosed with pheochromocytoma. Not one, but two. The primary location was in my abdomen. It was 10 pounds, 11 ounces when they removed it. I lost my left kidney, my bladder, part of my prostate, 18 and a half inches of my intestine. I had a 9.5-hour reconstructive surgery, and that was just for the first one. 6 months later, I had a second one removed. It was the size and weight of a goose egg. It was in the center of my chest, free floating between my heart, my lung, and my sternum, not connected. From what I was told, Theos to not be attached, be extra-adrenal, and not be incorporated was very rare in of itself back then. And didn't really know much about it. Most people didn't. You know, there was Theos and people knew of them, but most doctors, if you talk to them, they didn't have a patient that had a Theo. Didn't have a patient, so they didn't know about it. Happened to have a very good team that I was very lucky at Children's Hospital here in New Orleans, where I spent a lot of time, and my parents spent a lot of money getting me to where I could be a normal child. With some things, I mean, everybody has their limitations. For the most part, I was fine. We went through and did yearly scans. Got to where I was 5 years of scans. And in 2017, I lost my other kidney. So currently, completely both kidneys removed on dialysis. And I kept telling everybody that would listen, there's something wrong. For 2 solid years. Everybody told me it was in my head. Everybody told me, it's dialysis brain, it's this, it's that. I knew there was something wrong. And it wasn't, any of these doctors that were sitting here were able to tell me what was wrong. And I'm not saying that they didn't, I'm saying that I couldn't get to them. And I actually had a neurosurgeon who was working on a completely different part of my body actually find where my tumor was that was causing all my problems. And that's when there's a previous doctor we won't talk about. Some of y'all may know who that person was before Dr. Maluccio, who decided it wasn't worth his time for me to deal with me. And I was fine with that. But each one of y'all know that under neuroendocrine tumors, it's very difficult to find somebody that one will listen to you or even understands what you're going through. And that's where you have to be your own advocate. I have fought for years I could probably tell you as much as any of these doctors can from everything that I have read. Everything that you're going to do, you have to do it, because 38 years later, I'm still sitting here. I'm still fighting. I fight with 4 current spots, 4 active tumors. I've had the 4 active add to the 5 previous, which that puts me at 11. Is that my number right with that one? 11 total tumors. And it's just something that I treat like getting up and drinking a glass of water in the morning. Something I have. It's not something I am. It doesn't limit me. It doesn't make me have a bad day. It doesn't make me have a good day. It's just something that I have. And that's what all of us here are trying to figure out how to do. I can almost guarantee is how do we keep moving forward? You put one foot in front of the other and you just keep going. I've had doctors that told me for years, you won't make it till you're 20. Matter of fact, my mom, who is sitting here with us, she will tell you they didn't expect me to live till I was 19 because of this. It was really, really a lot of unknowns back then. And for everybody who has come behind me, a little further information. We found out through some genetic testing that mine was a genetic defect. Same time that I found out that I had another tumor, we did the genetic testing. I found out it was genetic, and found out my dad, who was having problems as well, had been misdiagnosed multiple times, but he also had NETs, neuroendocrine tumors. Through the genetic testing, we found out that not only myself, my father, but my sister and her 2 girls all have the genetic marker. I am happy to say that my niece, last Christmas, made 1 year since she had her tumor found and removed by Dr. Maluccio and the team. So everything that I have gone through, I go through specifically for my family. If I can do something that they don't have to, I'm fine. It's worth it. It is 100% worth it. And it's to see all of y'all here tells me that each one of y'all would do the same.
Awesome. I'm gonna let you
Thank you for sharing your story. And that goes to me too. Many of you may not know that Trisha, my daughter, who's sitting outside in the purple, well, she might not be there right now. Trisha was diagnosed down here 12 years ago by Dr. Walter. And what happened was we were doing a national conference in New Orleans, and for years Trisha's been running to the bathroom, and she's bright red. And I went over and I said, Dr. Walter, this kid has carcinoma. Yeah, stop being silly. Jean, I think she's got carcinoma. Stop being silly. Took her down the street, got her a drink, brought her back. She was red from top to bottom. He went, oh my God, she's flushing. I told you. So at the time, I wasn't licensed in New York State. And so I said to him, listen, we're here. Can we just get the blood work done? He said, okay. We're 1 or 2 points higher when we got home. And he said, don't worry about it, we'll check her in a year or 2. And Trisha was getting ready to leave for for college. And I just had this feeling, and I just was like, no, you can't leave until we get this taken care of. And it turned out she did. She had carcinoma in her stomach. Several years later, Trisha had 2 tumors in her pituitary. She was diagnosed at 22, she's now 33. And I too do it for my family. I get up every single morning, not only for my family, but for each one of you. We're here to try to make your life better so that you don't have to go through what we went through all these years. So just remember that, okay? How many people know why we use the zebra as our logo? Or why we use it? And what is the reason? Okay. No two patients have the same stripes. No two tumors have the same. No two patients have the same stripes. We have all different symptoms. We are controlled differently. We all have different way we respond to medication, different way we respond to tests. And this right here is your zebras. Each one of us is different. Even though everybody in this room has NETs, each one of us is different. Each one of us is different. And that's why in 2003, along with Dr. Walter, we decided to go with the zebra as the logo. A lot of people think that it's taught in medical school, you're taught when hearing hoofbeats, think of horses, not zebras. The real reason is because there's not one of us that are exactly alike. So just remember that you know, we are a family. There's a poster that we have, and Dr. Maluccio wanted us to bring it, but it's pretty big. And it says, every family has a story. Okay, welcome to ours. Once you come to a meeting and once you talk to us on the phone, you become part of this family. You are part of our family. You are part of NCAN family. You're part of the Nolanette family. Okay? I want you to lean on us. We're here for you. We want to make your journey easier. And just want you to know that there are people here fighting for you and that you're not alone. And this is really important, and that's why we do these conferences across the country. You know, everybody's like, during COVID, we all did let's do the Zoom. I'm sorry. Zoom is good for certain things, but there's nothing like walking into a room and looking around and saying, oh my God, they totally understand what I got. Oh my God, they've been through almost what I have. This is what you need. This is a community. Let's fight together. Let's get money for research. Let's spread awareness so that one day we can say that we have a cure. Okay? No evidence of disease is great. Stable is fantastic. But we want to find a cure. And I know that in my lifetime that's not going to happen. But I'm hoping the next generation and my children and my grandchildren that one day there is a cure for this disease. So just kind of remember that. All right?
Yes.
Thank you.